Boys, check it out. Fresh, crispy box straight from Summit. You know what that means? It's winter upgrade time. Okay guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks again for tuning in. So stoked to get going on these winter mods. I'll show you guys what I got in the Summit box in just a minute. I just kind of feel like I should show you where we're at with the car because I've done a bit of stuff off camera. But today's video, the main thing we're looking to do is relocate that battery into the trunk. So I got some parts for that and I got parts for another project that we're gonna do as well. But I'll show you what's going on with the car right now. So I just kind of removed the sheath there and had a little field day. Just cleaned up a little bit of wiring already. But the main thing we're gonna do is get that battery into the trunk. The second thing we wanna do, I don't know if we're gonna get to it in this video, I'll probably make a second video, is we're gonna relocate our MSD box inside the car, down by the passenger footwell. And then I'll show you guys the interior because the interior now has been completely removed. I put the seat back in just so I can move the car around. But interior is out because we are prepping for that cage, and this will actually help us do this battery relocation because we're gonna move, we're gonna move the battery cables along obviously with the battery, and we're gonna use this factory little wiring sheath that runs it to the length of the car. We can go from under the firewall to the trunk area back there. Okay, so let's crack into this box, see what we got. Obviously the usual Summit swag. A bill in there somewhere, forget that. Pull this first guy out. Oh yeah. Okay, so this is a battery box. This is needed for NHRA regulation. If you don't put your battery into a box, then you have to tin off the trunk area from the cabin area of the car, if you will. Since I'm not going to be tinning it off, went with the battery box, got this one from Taylor. It actually fits that yellow top optimal battery that I have, so pretty stoked on this guy. And it's pretty nice, all aluminum construction, and it's a whole kit, so it comes with a lot of the cables and stuff I'm going to need anyway. But it's pretty sweet. It's got the plastic sealer wrap on it, so I peel that off. It's nice shiny aluminum. And then, you know, it's got everything inside. We'll get into that further in a little bit here. Okay, so now we got a battery kill switch. You need this to kill power to the battery after I relocate it. NHRA regulation, gotta have it. And of course I went with Joe's because, you know. Okay, so here is that Taylor box and everything that comes with it. Good amount of positive cable, negative, a vent tube, which is necessary. All kinds of hardware, hold downs, everything you need, and a really nice set of instructions. I got a bit of a mess, and I got the battery out now and all that old hardware, and I have a little bit of cleanup to do there because that looks pretty gross. But we're ready to go into the back and start finding a location to mount that box. Okay, so I found a nice flat spot where I wanted to put the battery. I'm just kind of following the instructions that came with the kit. I did kind of notice though, they ask you to put this tray in, drill the holes, and then use the ready rod, secure it down, and kind of assemble as you go. I can't really do that because it's hard to get the battery and the box in underneath the sill. So I'll probably put the whole thing together, slide it into position, and then start tightening it down. But that's where she's going to go. That's going to give me nice room to run a negative down beside the frame rail and then tie into the frame rail to run my negative connection. And then the positives are going to come through the back, snake over here, drop down, and then come out to the bumper where we'll have that disconnect out here. But let's go ahead and get this box installed. Okay, there's that battery now mounted up in the box, sitting there. Looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. They did say I would need to modify the hold down for this battery, but it's really not going anywhere, so I'm not too sure what they're talking about there. I got the lid fit up too, works good. I'm just gonna start running cables now, punching into the floor, and start wiring. Okay, so I started working on the ground side of things. Punched a hole into the floor pan there. I'll show you guys what I've done underneath for a ground hookup. So I drilled a hole into the frame there, cleaned it off, got it down to bare metal, of course, and then I put a bolt through the hole with a couple washers there. That's going to be my new ground point. There's my hole up above, so I can just fish the ground wire through. connect it there, and then I should have a really solid ground on the frame there. The old ground used to go to the motor, and then I have a really good braided line that goes from the motor to the firewall. And if I feel like this ground isn't sufficient getting to the engine, I can always hook up another cable to the frame to the engine later on down the road if I feel it's necessary. But this should be pretty good. Okay, so there's that negative hooked up. I should mention too that I do plan on putting a little bit of weld on those washers to that frame to ensure a really good ground. And then I can put some paint back on that frame because I don't want that frame rusting up. I've hooked it up down here, but it is not connected to the battery at this time because I don't want to start playing with the power and have the negative hooked up to the car. Obvious reasons, you know. But I have gone ahead and drilled and grommeted holes for the power connector. And the next thing I'm going to show you guys, I'm probably going to take a little flack for it, but it's justified. So I have installed my master disconnect switch. I had to put it into the bumper. My original idea was I was going to hang it low, use this plate, make a little box up for it or something, but it just sat way too low the bumper. I feel like it really wrecked this nice line. The car looks so good from the back that I couldn't have a box hanging down. So this was the end result. I think it looks pretty good as is. It did come with this plate. I'm not going to use a plate. I'm either going to make up my own, or I might just get a custom decal made, a little off-on, little lightning bolt or something later on down the road. But that'll be it for now. I'm going to leave that disconnected so I can start hooking power lines to it. Okay, there you see that negative's not connected to the battery. I've started working on the power side. I've figured out my length of my cable. I got it hanging down underneath the car. I got to put an end on it. So I'm going to attach one of these guys, just going to slide it on, crush it up in the vise, and then solder it with a little hand torch there. Fill it all up, and then use a thing of heat shrink on it. I've already done one for the other side that's going to go forward of the car. So the end result, it'll look like this. Something to note too, I have realized that this kit is pretty good, but they did not give me enough cable. I guess they don't really think that you're going to be running to a kill switch because they only give you like 3 grommets, so I had to pick up some extra grommets, I had to pick up some extra heat shrink and those terminal ends to make the whole thing work. So really plan it out if you're planning on doing something similar to this, but I have to get more cable, probably gonna have to splice that big cable, or run a fresh length all the way. I'll figure that out later, but I'm ready to make this end work. Okay, so we got the switch all hooked up now. So there's our switch up underneath to our cables there, and then up into the box and then forward. So now I can go forward and start working in the engine bay. Check it out, cleaned out underneath that battery area and even did a little bit of paint touch up. I had a bunch of scratches in there. Came out okay, not show quality, but good enough for the racetrack. Cleaned up that starter solenoid, or relay I should say, as well. And I went ahead and made a new power cable. So this guy is going to feed down to the starter, obviously. The big thick guy will join back up with our cable inside the car already going back to the battery. And then the smaller guy here will go and hook up to our starter relay there. All hooked up now in here, and you can see main power is right here, feeding back in, goes directly down to the starter. And then we got starter solenoid wire. Plus this guy coming off the starter is now going to feed this, and this is now the main power junction, so anything that I had on the battery is here. Now keep in mind, I'm still going to be cleaning a lot of this wiring up. I kind of had to do this temporary. That MSD box is going to be moved, so even more of that wiring is going to come out of there, and I'm going to ditch those inline fuses, put them on the other side of the firewall inside the car, clean this up further, but this is looking better and better. I'm pretty happy with how this whole thing's coming out. Now all I gotta do is join up this black main cable inside the car, and then she's just about complete. Okay guys, just inside the car right now, and I just finished doing that union splice in between the black power cable that I got running up underneath the dash through the factory hole into the engine compartment area back, and this is the splice to the main power that goes out to the switch out back. That union there, I used one of these crush sleeves on it and then soldered it up, lots of heat shrink on there, and I'm going to tuck it into this factory rail. I went back to here and it's pretty sharp back there, so I actually used a little piece of bypass hose to get around that corner so it won't shear, and then the rest of the section will stay loose for now because when the cage goes in, the guy's probably going to need to move it, so I'll pin all that down later, but I gave myself a little bit of slack there, so it should be all able to tidy up real nice. Lid is on and everything is done. I hooked up the vent tube. You gotta vent this box, otherwise the gases can make it blow up. Found a little body hole there, just threw a little body plug. Vented down there, nice and clean. Like I said, I will secure the rest of this cable after the cage goes in, and I fit the rear seat because I don't want to pinch it off anywhere. But I'll walk you guys through the whole system again. So obviously battery inside there, negative down to the frame, power side out to our switch, back up this way, inside the car, going from the back down using the stock little wire loom there. There's my fancy little wire sheath. Up to the front, got the seat back into, and then I did secure that front section because that is where I want that to go. That way there's no hard kinks in it, and I am happy with how it is on the other side. Just use the stock wire hole in the front there with a grommet, of course. Then that main power goes down to the starter, and then off the starter we bring power back up to our relay, which is now our hotspot. So everything's plugged in, so all we got to do now is flick the switch and start it up. With the whole system. One thing I did learn though, I may have to swap this switch out for one that actually hooks to the alternator as well. There's a 4-post and a 2-post. This is a 2-post. Didn't know it at the time when I bought it, but that'll be a simple swap out, in and out, and then one wire to the alternator and a ground, I believe. So it won't be too difficult to swap that guy out later if it is an issue, but pretty happy with everything. No sparks, everything seems to be cool. I checked everything out, nothing's getting hot that shouldn't, so we're looking pretty good. So that is going to close out this video. I want to thank you guys for watching. We still got lots of stuff to do over winter, including finishing up the wiring, moving that MSD, doing a 2-step, and the cage will be going in. It's going to a chassis guy up north to do it professionally. I consider doing it myself, but for what I get, having a professional, the peace of mind, knowing it's done properly and will pass certification, no problem. It just made the most sense for sure to do it that way. So do stay tuned for more videos coming at you guys soon, and I can't wait to get this thing back on the track because it's going to be awesome.